Welcome back to Hardcore Ironman Till Death Do Us Part. This is episode 5, and let me tell you, we make some huge progress in today's episode. Something to get out of the way on the front end. I was having some allergy issues throughout most of these clips, so if there's some sniffling, you'll just have to forgive me. Hopefully it'll get better in the future. I'm setting up a doctor's appointment to work with it and hopefully lessen the symptoms. In addition to that, something happened and my microphone wasn't recording in most of the first clips. I figured it out towards the end of the video, so I'm going to be having to do voiceover for most of the first clips, but eventually I'll get back to live commentary, and obviously I'll let you know whenever I hit live commentary. So what we were planning on doing in this video was going to ultimately finish Monkey Madness, and I will say on the front end that we didn't do that, but it wasn't because we failed. It was more because we got distracted and got some other goals that we wanted to knock out before we actually did it. So today is less of a normal episode and it's more of a megasode because it took me a little bit longer to get it out, but there is a ton of content in this video. So I hope that you enjoy it, and without anything else, let's go ahead and get into it. Unfortunately, it took me almost a week to realize that some of these clips didn't have any audio recorded, so I had to try and go back and remember exactly what I was thinking whenever I was recording these clips. But right now, I'm fixing to start the quest grind, and I'm going to start off with the Knight Sword because some of the other quests that we're doing actually require a higher smithing level than we've got. I think pretty soon I'm going to be showing that I've got about 5 smithing, and I need to smith some iron bars and some steel bars for some other, and some silver bars for some other quests. So that's why we're going to go ahead and knock out the Knight Sword. So now having the Knight Sword completed, that gets us up to 29 smithing, which allows us to make the silver bars and the iron bars that we need for the other quests that we're going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and knock that out and make some of those iron and steel and silver bars. Alright, after we finished the Knight Sword, we went ahead and did the Demon Slayer quest, knocked that out pretty quick. Alright, after we did that, we went ahead and did the Tourist Trap quest, and that got us up to 35 smithing because I used both of the 4,650 experience lamps into the smithing skill, and so with 35 smithing, now we can make cannonballs. We don't have a cannon yet, but it'll be nice to go ahead and have the ability to make the balls and stock them up. And then we went over and did Lost Tribe, and the main thing that we got from this is our ability to buy the bow and crossbow, and we got our first Ring of Life, so that should give us a little bit of security, at least in PVM and other situations. Even though I don't have the 28 range that's needed to actually use the bow and crossbow, I'm actually going to go ahead and buy it, and I believe I'll buy 1,000 bolts as well, just so that we have it in the future whenever we get that 28 range. Also, in Nardok's Bone Shop, you can buy a bone knife, and a bone knife actually serves as like a very budget Bandos God Sword. I believe it's the Bandos God Sword because its special attack lowers the enemy's defense by however much you hit. So like if you hit a 6, then it lowers their defense by 6. So we might end up having to use that sometime in the future if we get desperate enough, but just more letting y'all know that it's there and that it might be an option. After we bought the bone crossbow, I needed to AFK some because of other things that were going on, so I went over to Sand Crabs and I got 50 magic, which allows us to use the Tome of Fire now, and it boosts the damage of our fire spells, and it will also give us basically free casts of any kind of high alch or low alch, at least free from the perspective of we don't need any kind of fire runes. But also, I smithed all the bronze bars that we had into bronze knives just because I figured I wasn't really going to be using them for much. So we're going to see how far these bronze knives will get us. Hopefully, obviously the more levels the better, but we'll just see how far they last. So we are now out of bronze knives and we got up to 16 range, which honestly isn't that bad. But now with kind of taking that break from questing and everything, it's time to get back on the grind. So it's time to go back into quests. And the first quest that we did is Ghost Ahoy, and this gives us access to the Ectofunctus, and we get the Ectofile. The Ectofile is really nice because it's a one-click teleport, so it'll help me get out of pretty scary combat situations if it looks like I'm gonna die and I don't have time to like click the Artie cloak or something like that. So it's just it's a safe way, and it gets me pretty close to a bank as well. unfortunately, with the ectofunctus, if I'm going to be getting buckets of slime, the agility shortcut requires 58 agility, and we ended off our graceful grind with 57 agility. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go back and just get one more agility level. It shouldn't take long in the Canifis course, and that way we have access to the shortcut, and it should make getting buckets of slime quite a bit easier. So we got 58 agility, and I was right, it didn't take very long. And in addition to getting the agility level, we actually got 18 marks of grace, which it's going to be a while before we can make any kind of stamina potions, so we don't need the amylase quite yet. But I guess we could be using it for a recolor if we decide to recolor our graceful outfit. But for now, those marks will just sit in the bank while we figure out what we want to do with them. But anyways, now I think I'm going to actually start preparing to do the 43 prayer grind using all the dragon bones that I've gotten. So I will be back with a clip on that. So it turns out that getting that agility level was kind of useless because I ended up just buying the buckets of slime from the charter ships anyway. But now we have all 124 buckets of slime and 124 dragon bone meal. So we'll go ahead and start worshipping at the ectofunctus and get that 43 prayer knocked out. And there we have it. That is 43 prayers. So now we have access to all 3 protection prayers. We have a few bone meals and buckets of slime left over just from miscalculating the prayer experience we would get from Ghost Ahoy. So I'm going to go ahead and do those. But this is the major prayer grind we have knocked out. I'll be doing prayer some in the future, but I'm probably not really going to be focusing on it super heavily until we get access to the Gilded Altar. Also, we talked to one of the ghost disciples and got 620 ecto tokens from all the prayer training we did at the ectofunctus. So that'll be useful for a future bone crusher that we get, but for now they'll just be sitting in the bank. So after finishing up that prayer grind, we decided to go do Elemental Workshop for the crafting experience so that we could get a few more levels in that to complete some future quests. And then we moved on to the Golem. The Golem doesn't really offer very much that we were looking for, other than the fact that it is a prerequisite for the Shadow of the Storm quest, which we're going to be doing next. So I forgot that it switches attack styles based on what you're praying. That made it kind of difficult to actually complete the first time because I was using Mage hoping that I could just pray melee and sit right next to it, and that didn't really work out too well. We had to ectofile out of there and come back and reset. So this is going to be the second attempt at the Shadow of the Storm boss, and we're going to try meleeing it this time, so we'll see how it goes. Well, apparently I just completely screwed up the entire boss fight in that first attempt, because whenever I came back in, it hadn't reset, it was actually already going, so I got attacked immediately from going back in. I'm just chilling in the safe spot right now so I could record the clip, but due to how far away Agrith-Nar is from this torch and from where I'm standing, I can't actually flinch him. So I honestly am not quite sure what I'm going to do. I think we're going to have to reset again. Okay, so by some really great stroke of luck and using most of our prayer and food, we were actually able to re-establish the flinch spot by trying to aggro him to the other side of the room. So all that's going on right now is this is just the final part of the fight. It took forever to actually finish him off because I was at 9 HP against him for what seemed like an eternity. I would get him lower, but then he'd heal back up because I'd have to try and kill him with Silverlight, and it just wasn't working out too well. But yeah, anyway, so this is just the rest of the fight. I'll just let it keep rolling so y'all can understand my misery. So, as you can tell from my over-dramatized fight scene there at the very end, we completed the Shadow of the Storm quest and put our 10,000 experience into range. And that got us up to 29, which means we can use that bone crossbow that we bought not too long ago. So, we'll be using that. That will be our range weapon for the foreseeable future. But now it's time to move on to another quest. And so we got Nature Spirit done. We got the dig site quest done, and that got us a chocolate cake, which I believe is used for desert treasure. And then we went ahead and did Bon Voyage, which gives us Fossil Island and access to all the birdhouse runs and ammonite crabs and other things that we'll be using for training in the near future. Unfortunately, we need level 21 construction to build the bank chest though, and right now we're only at level 13, so that'll be something that we have to come back and do in the future whenever we get our construction level up. After completing the Bon Voyage quest, we went back and finished up the Elemental Workshop series of quests and did Elemental Workshop 2. Then we hopped over to Karanja and did the Jungle Potion quest. We needed to head up to Birthwarp and do the Death Plateau quest and the Troll Stronghold quest so that we had those out of the way to be able to do Desert Treasure whenever we decided to do it. So this is the Death Plateau quest complete. And then we went right ahead and did the Troll Stronghold quest as well. And then the Grand Tree was the last quest that we had that was a requirement for Monkey Madness. So we wanted to go ahead and knock that out. So we knocked it out. It was an easy boss fight, and we got pretty lucky on finding the rock at the end and all those roots. And I felt pretty comfortable at this point doing the Dragon Slayer quest. So we went ahead and did Dragon Slayer. I think it took us 2 attempts on the boss fight. There wasn't really anything wrong. It was just we got some really unlucky splashes on the first attempt. But yeah, Dragon Slayer done. And I actually started Vampire Slayer way back in episode 3, I believe, whenever I was doing the first quest grind. So we just went around and wrapped that up. All we had to do is kill the final boss. Then we went over and did Ernest the Chicken. This is the last quest that we had to do before we were able to do Animal Magnetism. So Ernest the Chicken done. So we looked at doing the Eyes of Glowfree, and this is where the episode really kind of took its detour. We only have 1 rune crafting, and this quest requires 13 rune crafting for us to get a mud rune. That is one of the required items is a ground mud rune. I wanted to go ahead and do this quest because it gives us a good amount of runecrafting experience as well as magic experience. And so the 3 options of getting a mud rune was either getting the runecrafting level and then getting all the required talismans, going to Mage Training Arena, which would require quite a bit of runes to get the pizzazz points that we needed, or doing 42 Hunter and catching Essence Implings and hoping that we got a mud rune as a drop from an Essence Impling in Puro Puro. And you're about to see which one I chose. So here I am south of the Woodcutting Guild in Hosidius, and I was catching these copper longtails or whatever they're called, and we caught them from level 9 to level 15 Hunter, and now we're fixing to move on to Ruby Harvest. And so we just hit 29 Hunter, and it was pretty painful given how little experience we actually had to get to 29. But since we hit this level, we have unlocked swamp lizards in the Canifis Swamp. So we're going to go over to Canifis and catch us some swamp lizards. Right now, since we're 29 Hunter, we can use 2 traps. But at 40, we'll be able to use 3 traps. We're just going to go ahead and take 3, and we'll start using that 3rd trap whenever we're able to. And we just hit 4200 here at the Swamp Lizards. This was significantly faster than the Ruby Harvest was to get to 29, so I'm glad that this went a whole lot smoother than the other ones did. But this took about 4.5 hours for us to do, but we're done, and now we can finally go catch an Essence Impling in Puro Puro to get us a Mud Rune. So I've been walking around looking for the random Puro Puro spawn that is required if you haven't done Lost City yet. I think there's about 6 potential options of where it could be, and I've been walking around looking for it for about 30 minutes right now, and I'm just saying screw that, we're going to go ahead and do Lost City and just get access to Xanaris and the Puro Puro portal there. And that is Lost City completed. Xanaris is now accessible, and we have that permanent portal to Puro Puro that we're going to be using now to go get us some Essence Implings. We finally got some mud runes from these essence implings. It took us a while. I think we had to catch somewhere around 75 to 100, somewhere in there. So, I mean, it definitely could have been longer. But fortunately, while we were getting these mud runes, we also got 24 cosmic runes, which will be nice for enchanting jewelry whenever we go to those ham chests. And now, in typical Iron Man fashion, we spent about 6 hours preparing for a quest that took us like 15 minutes to complete. So, Eyes of Glow-Free completed. And we just now completed the Wanted quest, which actually gives us the Slayer level that we need to be able to complete the Animal Magnetism quest and get the Ava's device so that we can more efficiently train range. So yep, we'll be moving on to something else now. And this is Animal Magnetism completed, which will give us the Ava's device, which is going to make our range training that much easier. Alright, so right after recording that last clip about animal magnetism and having the Ava's attractor and everything, I just now realized that none of my clips before were recording audio. So I believe I'm gonna have to go back and dub in audio for those, but we're gonna be back to live clips now. Alright, so we just completed the Sea Slug quest, and that got us up to 35 fishing, but more importantly, that is the last quest requirement for the Slug Menace, which is the quest we have to do to unlock the Proselyte armor, which will be our main melee armor for most of Slayer. The issue is for Slug Menace, I believe we require some more Slayer levels. I think we have to have 30 Slayer and we have to have 30 rune crafting. We'll get Slayer just because we're going to start doing Slayer pretty soon. But at some point in time, I'll have to actually make an effort to get that rune crafting level up to 30. But yeah, that was the main reason for doing this quest. Alright, so I had thought about going ahead and trying to do Monkey Madness, but there's no real point in me doing it yet, I guess, since I'm nowhere close to 60 attack, and that's what you need for the Dragon Scimitar. So I think instead, what we're going to do is potentially start doing some Slayer to get our attack levels up. But before I really start on a Slayer grind, I want to get Proselyte. And to get Proselyte, I have to complete the Slug Menace. And to start the Slug Menace, I have to have level 30 Slayer. And right now I'm at level 23. So we have to get level 30 Slayer and level 30 rune crafting. So what we're doing right now is we're getting our first Slayer task ever from the dude in Canifis, because I've had unfortunate tasks from the dude in from Vanica and Edgeville before, so we're gonna get it from this Moxna dude, and we'll see what our first task is. Now let's see, 49 shades. Okay, any tips? I don't even know where shades are. Okay, yeah, so we gotta go down to Shades of Morton. Okay, well, so that's gonna be our first Slayer task, and that hopefully will get us to level 30, or at least somewhere close to level 30. So I'll be back with anything notable that happens on the task. Alright, so we completed that shade task. We killed those lore shades down near the Shades of Morton. And that unfortunately only got us to 26 Slayer. So we're going to have to do probably, I would guess, 2 more tasks in order to hit that 30 Slayer mark. And I don't particularly want to have to do Shades again, or I guess probably Feral Vampires would be the other thing that's around here. So I do think I'm going to go ahead and just suck it up and go to Vanica over in Edgeville. So I will see you whenever we get the new task. Alright, we're over here at Vanica to get our second Slayer test. Let's go ahead and see what it is. He's going to give us Ogres. Oh, jeez. Man, I don't know how I'm going to kill Ogres. Yeah, this is why I said I shouldn't go to him. I'm gonna look Ogres up. I might have to go to Turiel and get Turiel to skip this and reassign it. I might just have to do Turiel for the quick tasks. Alright, yeah, so I looked, and the only way we could kill Ogres is there's a potential range safe spot, but since my range level is only 30, that was going to be impossible and take forever to do, so I ended up going to Turiel to skip that task and get a new one, and we got 17 monkeys, so this will be just a little bit easier to do. We'll probably just go over to Karamja and kill him, because we need to get bones for Monkey Madness anyway. Well, this is the Turiel monkey task done, and that got us virtually 0 experience for Slayer, so I do think that we're just going to have to suck it up and go back to the Canifis Slayer Master and deal with whatever he gives us. So I'll be back once we get our next task. Man, it was only like 10 seconds. I already forgot to make the clip about it. But anyway, we went back to the Canifis Slayer Master, and we got 27 Katable Ponds. I don't know how you pronounce that, but we'll have to go kill those in the Stronghold of Security, and while we're there, we'll probably just go ahead and complete the Stronghold of Security because I haven't done that yet. So we'll just go ahead and knock it out. We've only got 27, and I'm probably going to have to range them since they can weaken and lower your strength. So this will still probably take a little bit. Alright, so no lie, it took us, I think, about 3 minutes to kill one of these things, and we ended up losing 16 bolts in the process. So I don't think it's worth it to try and kill these right now. We still have 26 to go, so it's going to take me forever to finish these. So what I think is actually going to be better is us just going to ammonite crabs or sand crabs or swamp crabs, something like that, and just AFKing our skills up. Our mage is fine where it is, but mainly AFKing like our range and some of our melee stats up. So that's actually probably what I'm going to do for quite a while, and hopefully get our stats up to a levels where Monkey Madness and Desert Treasure and things like that will be more attainable and easier to complete, and ultimately more beneficial to go ahead and complete. So I will be back with figuring out which crabs I'm going to go to, and with probably some levels and a game plan. So I had someone in the clan chat that I just chill out in. I had somebody ask why I was doing swamp crabs instead of ammonite crabs. Typically, most people do sand crabs, but then once you do Bon Voyage, most people hop over and do ammonite crabs for their AFK training. Ammonite crabs are a bit more AFK than swamp crabs, just because swamp crabs you have to walk around at least a little bit. But the main reason that I do swamp crabs for my range training is because of this defensive stat. So swamp crabs have a negative 55 range defense, which basically means that they're super, super, super weak to range. I'd rarely hit zeros, so it's good experience per hour. With the ammonite crabs, they have a 0 range defense. So it actually means that they, even though they have no defense against range, they're still better defended against range than the swamp crabs. Whenever I go and start training melee, I will hop over to these ammonite crabs and deal with having to find an empty world and things like that, because their defensive stats for melee, which I'll be using slash for a scimitar, is 0, whereas the swamp crabs defensive stats is 100. So it's not going to be worthwhile at all to be fighting these with melee when I can just hop over and do the ammonite crabs. So I guess the too long didn't listen. Swamp crabs good for range. Ammonite crabs good for melee. And magic, I guess, if you're gonna AFK magic as well. So yeah, that's why I chose to do swamp crabs for all my range training. Alright, well, I wasn't able to record it just because, or at least record the pop-up screen, just because I was getting attacked by some of these swamp crabs. But we just hit 40 ranged, and I'm going to be going and getting our green dragon hide. I should be able to buy all of it right now. Melee is going to be an expensive setup if I go with rune, so I'm probably going to prioritize getting full green dragon hide for range and getting a pretty decent range setup, and then just going with proselyte whenever we unlock it for melee, just because it's cheaper. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with range yet, but with mage yet, but yeah. So that's the plan. With 40 range, that also is the requirement for Temple of Ikov, which is, I believe, the only other pre-quest I have left to do for Desert Treasure. So I'll have 40 range knocked out of the way. I just need to get 42 thieving, which I'll work on sometime in the future. I want to keep doing combat stuff right now, but just another perk of getting 40 range. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the Scavos rune shop and to Oziak and get our full green dragon hide. And then I'll come back and probably just keep AFKing these swamp crabs for a little bit longer. Alright, so we just ran out of all of our bone bolts. We now have none left. We were able to get up to level 48, and we're really close to level 49. So I would have liked to get level 50, just so we could use the magic shortbow, even though we would really only be able to get it from a hard clue, which we don't have a good way of gathering those or completing those right now. So 50 isn't a huge deal. But since we ran out of bone bolts, I'm probably going to go ahead and move to the ammonite crabs and start working on my melee stats and just AFK my melee stats some at the ammonite crabs, so that whenever we finally do Monkey Madness, whenever we decide to do it, it'll be more worthwhile since we can go ahead and switch to the Dragon Scimitar. So what I'm probably going to be focusing on doing is I'll probably get my strength up to 40 just so it's an even number, and then I'm just going to be hammering out attack levels to try and get close to 60 so that we can get that Dragon Scimitar as soon as possible. So I wanted to go and address the fact that I didn't really put any of the stat or the level up screens in here. Nothing really noteworthy was happening in the range or in the attack training except for this part, so that's why I didn't include the individual level ups. But here we actually got a nature talisman drop. I wasn't at my desk whenever it actually dropped, but fortunately I was able to get back to my desk and pick it up before it despawned. So the nature talisman is something that we can potentially have to use to make the magic secateurs and the fairy tale quest. So it's nice to go ahead and have that out of the way where we don't have to grind it if it is the item that is chosen. But just our luck, we'll get something that is equally as hard to get, but we won't ever have to use this nature talisman. So yeah, at least that is one item out of the way. Alright, so now we are coming up on 240,000 attack experience, and this is going to be where I end the video. So with 240,000 attack experience, when we do Monkey Madness, we'll use the 35,000 experience reward on attack and defense, and that'll get us up to 275,000 attack experience, and that'll safely put us into 60 attack, and so then we'll just be able to buy the Dragon Scimitar and go ahead and move on using that as our weapon from there on out. So our last real quest grind was in episode 3, and going from the end of episode 3 to the end of this episode, we went from 59 quest points to 102 quest points, so just a little bit shy of doubling our quest points, but we're well on our way to getting the 175, or I guess the 166 that are needed for the Recipe for Disaster quest. And I forgot to include this in the last video, but at the end of episode 4, we had a total level of 676, and we made amazing progress in this episode with the quests and the skilling that we did to get to a total level of 935. So that's a pretty drastic increase, and I'm looking forward to more gains in the future. So I've already begun to work on the progress for the next episode, and so I've tried to eliminate any possible spoilers. I've lowered my health and all that just so that you can't tell if it's gone up or not. I'm not wearing any gear other than what I already had in the last episode, so that hopefully nothing is given away. But with episode 5 ending, we took some detours, we chased some rabbits, and we didn't get Monkey Madness done. And in episode 6, the goal is to get Monkey Madness done, but we're also going to be doing some other, I guess, side goals to facilitate life after Monkey Madness. We're going to need money. There's no real way around it. We've got to get GP for the Dragon Scimitar, for combat gear, and I also want to get it for construction levels. The Mahogany Homes update is coming out, and I'd like to take advantage of that and use that to grind through some early construction levels so that we can upgrade our house to where it would actually be semi-useful for us. I don't think we'll be able to get to 50 where we have teleports or be able to afford the runes for those, but I do want to go ahead and make enough money that we can do that. So ultimately our main goal for next episode is going to be completing Monkey Madness and obtaining a significant amount of money such that it should be able to last us for a little bit, while also reaching levels that and finding content that would allow for easy money making in the future. So if you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and you can go back and catch up on anything that you've missed. My Twitch is in the description. I try to stream most of the content that I think would be enjoyable to watch, so you can always head over there and see the content live and see everything live, and then kind of catch back up on stuff that you miss in these highlight videos. If there's anything you want me to work on, then leave a comment down in the description. If there's anything that you, I guess, just want to comment or want to insult or do whatever you want to do, feel free to leave a comment down below. I know that in the clips, I've noticed it when I'm editing, I know that I can be monotone, and I'm really doing my best to work on that and have more inflection in my voice and stuff like that, so it's less sleep-inducing and more kind of excitement-inducing. So that's going to be something for sure that I'm going to be working on in future videos. But until next time, I hope that you have a good one.